What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel as we continue on discussing the best classic rock albums through the 70s, and today we are talking the year 1971. If you caught my earlier video, you know I'm not as familiar with the early part of this decade as I am the middle and the late part of this decade, and that kind of made it easier to pick some of these albums because I didn't have too many to choose from that I was super close and passionate with. I do have a top 5 that I adore. Once I actually looked at the release dates of some of these albums, because I'm not really good with dates, I was scrolling through 71 and was like, dang, that's a good album. Dang, that's a good album. Dang, that's a good album. All from the same year. But before this list kicks off, I just want to say, as I prefaced in the last one, please don't be a stickler in the comments for it was actually released in Australia in 70 or whatever. I'm just going off of the internet and what people said when the year was released when I looked up top albums of 1971. So bear with me in the comments. But coming in at number 5 is Janis Joplin's Pearl. I'm familiar with this Janis Joplin album, but more so when I listen to her, I listen to like greatest hits kind of thing. I don't ever go album for album. But when I look at the track list of this album, it has some great songs and even some deeper tracks that I forgot about. So you have the hits like Cry Baby, Me and Bobby McGee, which is one of my favorite songs. Mercedes-Benz, which is a song I used to like the most, and as time has gone on, that has lost some effect for me. It's not up there on my list of Janis Joplin songs. So when I looked at the track listing, I looked at the hits, I remembered some deeper tracks. I got to see just how strong this album was, and a lot of what you're getting on those greatest hits and this and that are songs off this album. As I go through these albums, it's not necessarily a ranking of worst to best. Coming in at number 4 is actually an album I listened to for this review series alone, and that is Rod Stewart, Every Picture Tells a Story. I love Maggie May, one of my favorite songs. When I looked up the albums, this one came up, and Maggie May was on it. I was like, well, I want to put it on the list simply for Maggie May alone. It makes my top 5 regardless because of that song. But I figured, let me go give it a listen before I even put it on this list. And top to bottom, this album is solid. I'm glad that I'm doing this review series so I could go explore this album and had a reason to, because it's now going to be on rotation with all the other albums I throw on top to bottom. This will be one of them. But I will say, none of them overtook Maggie May. That's still his hit, and it's still my favorite. Number 3, a band that I'm not too into, but this is a strong album, and that is The Who, Who's Next. You get Won't Get Fooled Again, which every time I hear this song I think of Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, but you get Behind Blue Eyes, and you get Baba O'Riley, the song that most people probably don't know the name of and call Teenage Wasteland, which is understandable. So those 3 songs alone make this a great album. When I played the album all the way through, I like the other tracks for sure. I think it's strong, but this is one that, unlike with other albums where they have hits and then I dive into the album and I like the deeper tracks better, for me, when I listen to this album, I still like the hits the best, and those 3 songs carry this, and they put it in my top 3 of 1971 just on those 3 songs alone. Coming in at number 2 is one of the first vinyls I ever bought from a garage sale, and that is Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones. I've never been a big Rolling Stones guy. I like the hits, but it was a cool record. It had a zipper on the front where his pants are sitting, and it actually had a zipper hanging off of it, which I thought was pretty cool. So I decided to pick it up for $1, however much that lady was selling it for. And I love this one for the hits. Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, my personal favorite Rolling Stones song, Can't You Hear Me Knocking, You Gotta Move. That's all on side 1 of this album. It's not one I go return to all the time. I play more of the songs I like off this album than I do just playing the album top to bottom. But that shows how much I think of those songs that I do skip on, that this is number 2 for the year. It's not even the complete album I listen to all the time. It's just 5 or 6 tracks that I adore. I'm not a big Stones guy. They have other hits I don't mind, but I never really deep dive them or care that much. But just side A alone of this album is phenomenal. And coming in at number 1, was it any surprise they took top spot last time? They're going to take top spot for this year, and that is Led Zeppelin with Led Zeppelin 4. I mean, what is there to say that can't be? Black Dog, Rock and Roll, Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven, Misty Mountain Hop, Four Sticks, Going to California, When the Levee Breaks. I love every one of these songs. I think this album is great. I remember getting so fascinated when I was 13, 14 with this album and all the conspiracies and it's the occult, and if you play this backwards, you hear all this. That was so fascinating to me, and it drew me to this album even more. Misty Mountain Hop is one of my favorite songs of all time. But then as you look at the track list, every one of these songs could be a favorite song of all time for me. So many hits, so many iconic songs. Without question, Led Zeppelin 4 is the best album of this year. But if you disagree, put it down below in the comments. What albums did I miss? What should I have thrown on here? What were your favorites? Or some of my favorites, some of your favorites? Let me know down below in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to continue on with this. Year by year classic rock album ranking. Next episode is 1972, baby. Can't wait to see y'all there. You guys are the best. Peace.